Whispers 87.7 FM. My name is Uche Nogo. Great to have you join us on the show. Today, we are putting the Nigerian youth at the center of a very important conversation about governance and the future of our country. Recently, the International Youth Day was celebrated, and Nigeria was not left out. Nigeria is a young country. Our youth represent a huge part of our population, our workforce, and electorate. They also are among the most active participants in our political process. But here is the contradiction. The same youth, the same young Nigerians who are expected to vote, to campaign, mobilize, determine political outcomes, are also confronting unemployment, hunger, insecurity, rising living costs, and limited opportunities. That is our conversation for today. Can better governance restore the hope of the Nigerian youth? And in the studio, I have joining me to help make sense of this conversation. He is an author, an entrepreneur, a former Southeast Caucus chairman of the Nigerian Youth Parliament Fifth Session. Williams Omeji, welcome to the Civic Forum.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here.
Great. Thank you for joining us. Now, with unemployment, hunger, insecurity, and rising social pressures, do Nigerian youths genuinely have hope for a better future?
Okay, thank you so much for that question. Actually, when you talk about hope, you have to first of all understand what hope is about. Hope is about expectation of a good life in the future, or not even if not in the distant future, but at least the nearest future. And in Nigeria, when you encourage young people to go to school so that they can graduate and join the workforce, and they graduate and pound the street without jobs, when you have young people waking up and they don't have hope of where the next meal is going to come from, people will lose hope. When people are not secured in their own country, when government that has promised to secure lives and property can no longer do that, people will lose hope. So hope must be grounded in reality, not just a promise. When you say people should have hope in their country, what is their country doing for them to ensure that that hope is something that people hold on to? And my people have a saying that hunger that has a promise does not kill people. People endure hunger when they know that there is something at the end of the day. But in Nigeria here, you are promised to hope in your country, but this hope is the hope is hopeless. Actually, the hope is hopeless. So you just.
So let's talk about government. Why has successive governments? Why do you think they have failed to create decent and sustainable jobs for millions of Nigerians entering the labor market?
So actually, the concept of even going to school or acquiring skills is so that you fit into the various sectors of the economy. For instance, it is the onus of government to create capacity in our various ministries, agencies, and parastatals, or even in the private sector. Government provides enabling environment so that the private sector can thrive, so that when people go to school, they acquire skills, and government expands the capacity so that these people can fit in, so that young persons can fit in. Let me be honest with you. The World Bank, estimates that 3.5 million people join the labor force every year, and this is a staggering reality, and it places an emergency on the government, and even the private sector to create jobs, to enlarge the workforce so that people can fit in, so that young Nigerians especially can find a place to express, their talents and the skills they've acquired both in school and in the informal sector.
How is insecurity affecting the ability of young Nigerians to study, work, establish businesses, and participate meaningfully in the society?
Well, actually, insecurity kills opportunity. That is how it affects it. Insecurity kills opportunity. When people cannot go to school peacefully, they cannot learn peacefully. We saw what happened in Ekiti State, Oyo State, precisely, where young children, who were in school, were kidnapped by bandits. The they cannot learn. And when you see situations like that, it kills the opportunity, it kills the potentials of these young ones. And beyond that, when farmers cannot go to their farms, because we see what happens in Benue State, where farmers are killed by bandits. We see what happens in the country where insecurity is the order of the day. In 2025, the World Bank again also estimates that about 3.5 million people were displaced in northern Nigeria because of insecurity. So when you have situations like that, opportunities don't thrive, and you cannot have a nation develop. You cannot even have its youth population give their optimal best in an atmosphere of banditry, insurrection, communal violence, and all of that. And then again, even if investors have to come, investors like to put their money in predictable environments where you know that if you put your investment, it is safe. So you cannot come to a country and invest when you know that there is insecurity in that country. So government should understand that development can only occur in an atmosphere of peace. And peace is when you can go about your businesses freely and fairly. Peace is when you can learn and work under a peaceful and conducive environment. So these are the issues. So opportunities will be grounded if there is no peace. Insecurity actually denies Nigerians of opportunities to thrive and develop.
Every day the NDLEA reports, substance abuse by young people largely, and political authority, and increasing association with young people basically doing the most. So are these primarily moral failure, or would you say they are symptoms of a society that has failed to provide opportunities for our young Nigerians?
Well, honestly, when I wake up every day as a young person in Nigeria, I weep for the country. Why I weep for the country is that I see a country that has been so blessed, and the country is maiming itself. And I wouldn't, to answer your question, I blame the individuals participating in these vices, and I also blame government. So both of them share a part of the blame, but you must understand the environment that has produced the both of them. When you live in a country, just like we've said before, a country that makes you live in despondency, a country that you have been blessed to be part of, then you see the enormity of potentials, the economic potentials, and the human resources that God has deposited in this country. And you see these things, you see opportunities, you even see people, fellow human beings like yourself, you see them living very large, living comfortably, but you are denied these opportunities. You are denied access to this good life. Then of course, crime becomes attractive, vices become attractive. So when they bring these things before you, you are most likely going to budge. For instance, internet fraud has become the bane of young people in Nigeria, and it is terribly dealing a big blow in our economy and in our moral values. Of course, not away from that, ladies involved in prostitution, drug trafficking, and all of these things that have become the order of the day. And why are people doing this? In as much as I do not want to justify the reason for people engaging in crimes, and nobody should even justify being a criminal just because of anything. But then, like I said, you need to understand the environment that has produced these things or these people in our society. So I weep for Nigeria every day, because we have everything it takes to become a great nation. We have everything it takes, to be one of the leading economies in the world. But the fact is, bad governance has actually kept Nigeria stunted in its growth trajectory. And it is something that is very pitiable. And I just hope, I pray every day that our help comes from wherever. But I would only express optimism that it comes from above, or from anywhere God actually wants to save us from, because we are actually in a mess. This is messy.
All right. Do we have a responsibility? When I say we, I'm making reference rather to Nigerians, young Nigerians. In terms of voting, we have the power to go out there and vote. Do you think the youth is doing enough in terms of that?
Voter apathy is actually a consequence of bad governance. When you constantly come out to vote and your vote does not count, you come to stand in the rain, in the sun. At the end of voting, INEC would declare whatever they wish to declare. you'll find out that even the effort you put in voting the candidate of your choice has not even materialized. You are going to lose faith. You are going to become politically disillusioned. You are going to develop voter apathy because you know that no matter how much you vote, your votes can never count. But if you live in a country where the voting process is credible, is fair, and seen to be fair by all, of
So
course,
are we going to give up?
we cannot give up. That is the issue. We are here. All of us will gather there, so we go die here. Do you understand?
We go live.
But the fact is, what I'm trying to say, in essence, is this is our country. I know a lot of young people today, because we are still celebrating International Youth Day. A lot of young persons have been enslaved, have been perpetually grounded by their own country. Most young persons have become hype men for politicians. You know, when you see them, I was so embarrassed the other time where they had gone for a function, and then majority of young persons just came out. A particular governor was coming. They were hailing him, the best governor in the world. The eagle has landed, blah, 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 blah. And at the end of the day, go to the community, go to the states where these governors are coming from. You see that there's nothing about governance. There's nothing that screams good governance. And young persons are the victims of these things. Yet, they don't
So that brings me to the next question. Sorry to jump in. So young people in particular, why do you think they're not holding government to account?
They've been beaten to surrender. That's the point. They've been beaten to surrender. I won't lie
You're
to you.
saying this is a completely hopeless situation.
While I might not express that extent of pessimism, but I will also let you know that we're in a mess. It's a very difficult situation for us. Young persons go to school and come out. There is no opportunity. Those who are privileged to have opportunity, like I said, the word privilege, are privileged to know people. So if you do not know anybody, there are opportunities in this country. Take, for instance, job opportunities are circulating everywhere. They are being sold to people who can buy, who have the economic power to buy. Job opportunities are open, but they are distributed to the elites who now submit lists of the people that they want, that they want for those jobs. So what is the fate of the common man who knows no man, who knows nobody in governance? Away from that, government has opportunities. For instance, in the business sector, there are opportunities like grants from government, but you must have to know someone to be able to access this.
Some people would not agree with you that we've gotten grants without any, I know you.
To what extent? To what extent?
Yeah.
Look at what somebody outside of government did. If you talk about people like that, I will agree. Sometime in June, I think June or July, the Pastor Jereze Foundation, shout out to Pastor Jereze, he came out and granted $3,000 to people in manufacturing, people in different kinds of businesses. You understand? That was what he did. And from what I saw, because I actually was a beneficiary, it was credible. You didn't have to know anybody to access it. That is how to make it.
Having mentioned that, do you think that the private sector can actually do more in being intentional about
Private
employment and giving grants to young people, providing jobs?
Private
Because a
sector.
lot of young people are looking for government work.
Well, before I answer that, I would like to let you know that constitutionally, welfare, security of lives and property are the primary functions of government.
Absolutely.
So when you find yourself in a situation where government is failing or derailing in these responsibilities, then it is the failure is on government and not the citizens. But then I can tell you that in the past, in fact, at least in the past decades, the private sectors have been more intentional when it comes to granting opportunities, giving opportunities to young businesses and even young Nigerians to thrive. Because look at, I don't know the last time you went to the market. The cost of commodities yesterday. Of course, you can do a comparison, and you know that your guess will be as good as mine. Prices of commodities have skyrocketed. Inflation keeps hitting the roof. The NBS places inflation at 15.91% and food inflation at 17.52. And to be very honest with you, the World Bank says over 60% of Nigerians were living below the national poverty line as at 2025, and these figures have exponentially increased. You see all these sufferings. I run a business, and to be very honest with you, since government policy of fuel subsidy removal came on board, we spend over 50% of our profit on transportation alone, after manufacturing, to transport it to the end users. We spend over 15% of our profit. How do you expect a business to thrive that way? Give it the much grant you can if you don't provide enabling environment. So I go back to it again. The private sector is doing well. Government needs to step up their game as well to ensure that they live up to the expectations of the people and of the constitution that gives them power.
You served in the Nigerian Youth Parliament. What were you able to achieve at the time?
Well, the Nigerian Youth Parliament is an advocacy platform created to gather young persons from across Nigeria, 3 per state. It is, structured like the Nigerian Senate, where you have 3 representatives from each state across Nigeria. Of course, we have a total of 109. That's including one from the FCT. That's the formation of the Nigerian Senate. So this is a platform where young persons come to discuss matters that affect them, but they do not have power to implement anything. So you come. It was just a convergence of young people from across Nigeria who come to discuss problems and provide solutions, but those solutions, they do not have powers to implement them. But in my time as the Southeast Caucus chairman of the Nigerian Youth Parliament, I was able to hold what I call the Southeast Regional Youth Conference, where I gathered young persons to discuss insecurity. I did the program in 2024 because I think I entered the parliament in 2022, thereabout. So I did the program in 2024. I brought stakeholders, including the late Chief Emmanuel Iwanyanwu, who was the Ohaneze Ndigbo president, the President General of Ohaneze Ndigbo worldwide, and a couple of other stakeholders. Even the governor of the state was present. He was represented anyways, but the state government, my state government actually supported the program. They sponsored the program, and like I said, I brought stakeholders, then young people, together to discuss involvement of young people in insecurity and how we can chart a more productive and safe Southeast for businesses to thrive.
We need to go. Before we go, what should youth themselves be doing differently to influence the direction of the country? I know you mentioned some. So intentionally, what should the youth be doing?
You just have to realize that we're in a mess as a young person in Nigeria. But what you have to do now is you have to stand up for yourself. Elections are fast approaching. The only power you have is your PVC. We have the power to change the narrative. We have the power to redirect the course of this nation. All we have to do is vote out these people. Stop being a political hype man. That is not what you went to school to do. Don't be a hype man. Don't be licking their feet. Be able to. You've got a brain. You've gone to school. Think outside of the box. What would you do to stand out? Because they won't give you the opportunity. But so grab it. If you can't grab it, at least the only thing I know you have power to do is to vote a candidate of your choice. We have the power. As a people, we have the power to say enough is enough to this mess. Every time I come on radio, I talk about positivity, but today I'm telling you, the hopelessness is too much.
You really think
too much is too much.
Of doom.
Too much is too much. This is just mine. You have to go out there, see the despondency on people's faces, see the frustrations people are going through. This is not how to be a citizen of a country. Go to other countries of the world, you will see the difference. When you come back to this country, you'll be annoyed. You will be annoyed because nothing is happening here. Nothing is happening, and people are living the best of their lives. Politicians are living their life. Why the citizens are suffering? It is not supposed to be so. If you can generate electricity in your house, you think the entire population have light. If you have potable water in your house or good drinking water, you think the entire population, they have water. But people are suffering.
We have to leave the conversation there.
It's all right.
William Omeji, thank you for coming on the Civic Forum. And we hope that something positive happens, and that is going to vote as a Nigerian.
2027.
Yes.
I and those who follow me, we already know where we're going. So everybody should have that power too.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
And to everyone else, thank you for being a part of the Civic Forum. My name is Uche Nogo. Have a great day.